Yes, I think we are live. Are we live? Are we live? I think we are live here. Are we live here? Let me just check. Yes, we are. Okay. So I can see myself. Two screens. One is on FB and this one here is on YouTube. So I have multiple things to worry about now. Okay. So thank you, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Hear me well. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Jesse sir. Lots of people. Krishna Kumar Menon. Hi, Krishna Kumar. Hi, Krishna. Hi, how are you? Anil, Vivek, Bhavesh. Hi, hey, Bhavesh. Ranjan sir, how are you, sir? And Bhavesh made it on time. Yes, made it on time. Me too. Yes, and Rahul saying, how are you? Love your t-shirt? My t-shirt? Well, this is what we are going through now. The karma is catching up with you. So I thought it could not have been more appropriate than this t-shirt. So I kind of created a slightly more wider frame today so that people can read this and put it in their top story that it's end of the day, your karma. How am I? Praveen Dhoni. Hi, are you related to the man? I'm very well, Praveen. And too stylish, Smiley Raju. Hi, thank you. Is the sound all right? Hi, my dear new friend. Thanks for share this video. I hope connected here. Just I color the bell, and I hope you do the same. That way to subscribe your channel. I shall do that. Thank you very much. And all right, so many people have already come in. Wonderful. And we can actually start it in some time. So there are lots of comments which are coming in from Facebook, and I can also see lots of comments from YouTube. Though I would have preferred personally, I don't know how many comments that I can handle today because there's too much to handle, and there's Facebook here and there's YouTube here, and both are filled with people. I don't know how many people. Lots of people. About 149 people there, and oh, wonderful, great. So I think we should start. Okay. Good evening. My name is Radha Krishnan. I'm from Pixel Viilage. Okay. So in my typical YouTube styles, welcome back to Pixel Viilage, and I'm Radha Krishnan. Well, as you know, Pixel Viilage is a channel, a website portal for photographers, and we talk about everything photography. And during this lockdown time, when the entire world was worrying about, what next, and many people were going towards, tips and tricks and things like that, we in Pixel Viilage thought that how about addressing the real problem of the photographer. The real problem with the photographer is going through at this point. Well, you all know that the main problem or situation that we are worried about is the after effect of the current pandemic. So we are anxious. We are, along with so many other things, as photographers, we want to produce the best. We are constantly compared with people. We constantly require some kind of validation of our work. Anyway, constantly we are on some sort of an anxiety. Well, that anxiety at times can affect your creativity. Now, knowingly or unknowingly, it is affecting your creativity. That's what today's guest is going to tell us. I mean, in fact, she has already told us that it's going to affect your creativity. And I'm going to take her onto the screen, and I'm going to, well, it's all. I have my own anxiety today. Everyone is fighting their own battles with anxiety on a day-to-day basis. She will probably kind of give you a new angle, a way to kind of deal with it, in a positive mind. I'm also equally. I'm going to be silent. I'm going to be as a student listening to Aditi today. So, without any delay, let's bring Aditi onto the screen. Hi, Aditi. How are you? Your audio is muted, so you can unmute your audio. Yep, there you are. One more time. Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear? Perfect. Okay.
Wonderful. Yeah, we can hear you. Yes.
Anxiety wearing Karma t-shirt is a perfect thing.
Exactly. So, Aditi, for us photographers, I mean, we chatted a couple of times, so I know what you do and who you are. But to many of our viewers, you are a new person.
Yes.
Would you like to kind of give them a background to what you are doing and what you're about to tell them today?
Okay. I work as a graphologist and a high performance coach. Now, if you understand what graphology is, like how you interpret anybody's photograph. So if there's a photographer, every photographer has his or her own style. And though the object that you're capturing could be the same, when many people capture that object, it becomes a very different interpretation. Similarly, for me, handwriting works like that. If I look at a handwriting stroke, I can figure out what is happening in the person's mind. And as a high performance coach, I work with people to enhance their performance, to take the performance to the next level. Now, most of the time, I work with leaders, I work with people who are key decision makers to a project. Now, when the lockdown started, we thought, what can we do? We can't go and work as frontline workers, but we can do something that would really help people deal with their mental situations. And that's what I have been working for last 16 years. So when I spoke with Radhakrishnan, he said, why don't we do this with photographers who will have their own challenges and their own problems? So here we are discussing anxiety
We
for
have all,
creatives.
by the way, we have only challenges. Huh?
So,
We are constantly challenged.
I can imagine. And I'm very happy about it in a way because I think creative people thrive with challenges, not the kind of challenges we are seeing right now. But one of the
Yeah.
things, you have chosen, all of you, photographers and other creative people, you have chosen this career because you don't want the conformist, mundane, really stuck up life. When you look at those people, you go like, oh, I'm so happy I don't have to do that, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we all get into it hoping that we are going to do something different, but end of the day, most of them see the same kind of struggle, and like the title suggests, that kind of tends to take creativity away. Now, currently, most of the photographers are not really talking about how to improve their photography. They're
Mhm.
talking about what will happen now on things like what am I supposed to do to when I come out, will there be more competition, will I get the same chance, I lost a lot of opportunities and things like that. So currently the creativity is actually taken a back seat,
Right, I
and
agree. I agree with you. So
probably
most
because of the anxiety.
Yes, and the anxiety, first of all, like every time I talk about dealing with anxiety, the first thing and the most important thing is to understand it is okay to feel anxious.
Okay.
Our biggest struggle is the very moment we see anxiety, we are like, okay, what can I do? How can I solve the problem? All of that
Yeah.
happens. But
Yeah.
if we understand that with that kind of mindset, we are not solving problems. We are literally going deeper. We are really pushing ourselves into this well that we have no way to get out of immediately. So, when you are in an anxious situation, exactly when we start finding solutions, not when we start going down that rabbit hole. There is a
Mm.
moment, and all of us have that moment. Probably the time may vary, but there is a moment where we say, wait a minute, and you
Mm.
decide to make a U-turn and you decide to go on the other direction of finding solutions. Right now, we have to understand it. The very moment you find anxiety driving you crazy and you're going down a typical pattern. Now, in the introduction video, when I was speaking and when we shot that video, I literally realized that anxiety is a pattern. You have to identify your pattern. For a photographer, the pattern could be different. For somebody who's working in a job, the pattern could be different. But all of us have patterns. And if you know this, if there is a pattern, the pattern can be broken. If there is a pattern, the pattern is predictable. So we can literally look at things where we can start changing by using some tools that we're going to discuss. But before we get there, what do you think are the common questions that photographers ask you, Radha, so that we can incorporate those questions and we can take it from there?
So before that, we have lots of very interesting people here. We have Martin Vlog from Virgin Island. We have Israr sir, a very, very senior photographer from Mumbai.
Wow.
I have lots of familiar faces here also, attending this session. And we actually have a record turnout today. So I'm really excited, So everyone,
So nice.
yeah. So I am beginning to get anxious. I hope this doesn't, affect my creativity today.
Okay, so as I said, if you feel anxious, Radha, it's okay to feel anxious. We can begin from there, and that's absolutely fine.
Is it like the Munabai thing? All is well.
Yeah, all is well.
Yeah, all is well.
That is not Munna Bhai. That is Three Idiots. All is well is Three Idiots.
Is it?
Yeah, Munna
No.
Bhai was Jadoo Ki Chappi.
Oh, okay, sure. All right. So
I
there
love
goes. There,
Bollywood.
yeah. All right. Yes. Yeah. There goes my Munaki. My understanding of movies. Yes. All right.
So I was asking about the questions. Do you come across questions that
Yeah,
people
lots
ask
of questions. So all that standard problems that any professional face are problems too. Along with that, the added problem is that because it is so glamorous from outside, lots of people kind of come in. Well, you can't just become a doctor one day. You can't just become, let's say, a chartered accountant one day. You can't just become I'm also constantly looking at comments. You can constantly look at, become regular. You can't one
any
day become.
professional.
Yeah, whereas photographers doesn't really require any kind of qualifications to start with. If I can take good images, which most of the cameras and mobile phones these days by default let you do,
right?
Just because of that sheer number of photographers are increasing, which is very good. But there are lots of unhealthy competition that is happening.
Right.
Now, the unhealthy competition, healthy competition is always good, but the unhealthy competition is not good. So there is there is an anxiety both in the entrance mind and all the people who are already professionals. So
established.
Then the second one is in the olden days, let's say when there is only 20 photographers in the town, it's easy for me to take my portfolio out and show it to people. And I can, if I'm at it in about a month, I can personally make sure that all art directors in the city has seen my work. Currently, there are so many people and there is so much of demand, and there is no way I can make sure that my work is seen by everybody. So there are new things that I need to learn now. There are new challenges. So in fact, senior photographers are now struggling to be seen. There are these stories about senior photographers dropped who are ambassadors of big camera brands are dropped these days for a newcomer because the newcomer has more following on Instagram, more following in social media. He's seen more, but the other man has more. So the other man has more experience.
Of some kind.
He has more experience. He's done it for 20, 30 years, but suddenly he is, from in front of a new guy who's got different sets of skills. Well, he is. So these challenges are happening more so for photographers than probably a doctor or a lawyer or a CA, and then constantly being compared because your visuals are being seen. So there is this constant comparison. Ye acha hai, wo acha hai. So he is constantly under this. Of course, a little bit of a creative stress is good. I know it, and you have to go through that labor pain to create something new. But this constant anxiety is also killing.
Right.
Or probably they're shifting their focus. They're spending too much energy in that direction. So these are the kind of challenges: constant comparison, not knowing
High
what I'm
level
going
of
to do
competition.
tomorrow. Yeah, there is nothing called, olden days there used to be a very very loyal clients that you could have you usually build over a period of time, um, but no longer the loyalty is gone.
Right.
So you would lose a client only if you mess up the work, but
Right.
now even without messing up the work, even after delivering good quality, you still lose the client.
Yes.
So things like that, because of pure sheer price,
Competition.
point competition and things like that. So these are the current issues. Well, if I, after working for 30 years as a accepted photographer, doing commercial photography, and suddenly I have to explain to a newbie, why am I charging so much? Okay, so all these have collectively creating us, many people don't talk about it, many people are very vocal about it, but mm, collectively, playing up in your mind, and obviously it's affecting our creativity. So here we are today to listen a magic solution from you. You're going to not let us down, and you're going to give us one kind of, like a solution out to kind of deal with it, and probably put into a perspective and tell us what we should be doing.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
before I begin, let me tell you, it's not going to be a magic solution. It's going to require some work like any other thing. But let's jump in and let's figure out what exactly that's going to be. I am
Sure.
actually at this point in time slightly excited about the possibilities we have in front of us. Most of the time, when people discuss this overall global crisis, people are constantly talking about how things are not working, how things are going to be difficult, how things are not going to be exactly how they used to be. And I completely agree with this. But let's look at it. I like all of you, most of you who are photographers by professional. In my profession, I started it as an entrepreneur. Nobody had heard about graphology, and I wore the cap. I said I'm going to be one of the first full-time graphologists, and people are like, "What do you do? What exactly do you do?" And I'm going to bring some knowledge from my work and entrepreneurial exploration into this conversation. Imagine all that you have learned till now was great. But what's going to happen from tomorrow or in this phase going to be a new game that we're going to play. So it's not going to be the old game. Those who have learned certain skills, it's amazing. People who have certain kind of experience is fundamentally wonderful as your degree in a way. But let's look at it. Whatever will be showing up from here onwards, going to be a new game. The very moment we understand it, the very moment we accept and we say, okay, it's a new game. Now, you all of you would have experienced it when we travel and we go to a new city or especially new country. Everything is new. The language is new. The kind of food they eat, their preferences are new. It takes 2-3 days for us to adjust and accustom to their ideas and their ways of going about. But if you stay at any place more than 10 days, suddenly you start catching up. You start behaving in the
Absolutely.
manner it is required. Now,
Yes.
what is the difference? If somebody is unwilling to look at it, then there is a lot of stress and anxiety. But if the
True.
person who's traveling and because they're traveling and or they're on a vacation, they're excited, they're more willing. Instead of saying, I
Mm.
don't want this, I want it to go back and I want everything to look the way the way my town looks or my village looks or
Mm.
my country
Or
looks. Here you are,
I
you're
want
saying,
my or I want my FAFTA and Safe or whatever
yes.
that. Yeah. Okay. Please.
Or
Yeah.
I would say rather for you, idli sambar in your style, totally.
Well, I
So
had a lot of Gujarati friends when I travel with, clients, so they pack them. So I know that's why I don't miss idli and sambar at all. So yeah.
so you may miss it, like papada and dokla. I get
Yeah, and tepla. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So
Sure.
so the willingness is a very very important factor. The
Yeah.
difference between somebody who is anxious and who is not anxious in the same scenario is somebody's willingness to look at it. Now, early
Absolutely.
on, I read this story in a newspaper. that it was a story. There were two people suffering. They had some cyclone in their town, and they were fighting and they were dealing with the problems of the cyclone. There was one person who lost his factory and another person who lost everything that he had, like his family, everything. But both these people were not dealing with the situation in the same manner. The one who had lost only his factory was going crazy and was crying and was struggling. But the one who had lost everything was going out there and figuring out how he could help his neighbors, and whatever was remaining in his hand, he was trying to make the most of it. Now, we believe that our attitude or our reaction is based on the situation. And this is where I want to talk about the psychological makeup. This may or may not be true. This may or may not be the exact thing. This is where the gap happens. When a situation shows up, we have a choice about how to react. You and I, all of us have a choice. We have a choice to collapse. We have a choice to fight back. We have a choice to be ready for the game. We have a choice to invent something new. We always have a choice. But when your mind is completely occupied, when you're saying it's busy, occupied in resisting the problem, occupied in saying, I don't want it, I don't want this to exist, I want my life to go back, and I want my old clients to show up, I want to feel comfortable in a certain manner, then you don't have much space to look at what you can do. You don't have space to think about, so this is a new game in front of me. Can I choose option A, option B, or option C? So, my friends, I am talking about the trigger and reaction situation here. Whenever we get triggered in a certain manner, we believe I have to go and I have to react to the situation. Reaction, which means if I throw a ball on the ball comes back because the ball has no choice but to throw it back. There's a quick reaction to my action. Whereas as human beings, we have a choice. We have something called our mind, our brains to process the information that is coming our way. So every time you feel stressed, every time you feel really, really bothered about the situation, please take a moment. Please take a moment to understand, do I have a choice? Now, I'm going to ask you to do two, three things. One of the things which I find very, very, very effective is to journal. Now, what is journaling? Is literally pulling a notebook and writing everything that comes to your mind. And what I mean by journal is not only writing your stories, not writing what happened, but is literally picking up some cues. And I'm going to ask you, the second point is I'm going to ask you certain questions. So when I answer a question, when I'm responding to a question, I'm training my mind in a certain manner. And I really want you to understand this mechanism, because you might not be able to go back and talk to your friends the way you did. Everybody around us is stressed at this point in time. Like my best friend, she was talking to me 1 hour before this call, and 8 people in her building got tested positive, and we were figuring out how she's going to manage her old parents, what all going to happen now. Generally, the situation where the COVID was happening really far from you, when the situation, the problem was outside there, probably you are not dealing with that much stress. But the very moment it comes very, very close, it becomes very difficult. Now, similarly, there are problems that you're suffering from right now. They're very, very close to your heart. And then it is very simple, very easy for you to act, very simple for you to react. Now, I'm saying, can we find a way to find a response? And by response, I mean we have to take a moment and think about what all options are available to me here. If I cannot function in the manner that I used to function, then I'm going to sit for a moment and ask myself a question. Most of the time, we try to get to an answer without literally giving ourselves any training into thinking calmly. Now, it may sound like, oh, it's a theoretical thing. Why would I think calmly when I'm feeling anxious? Because feeling anxious is not helping. Feeling anxious is only getting you down to the on the same path, and you're going down in the same loop, and that is not helping. If we have to break the loop, we have to do something different. We can't continue to do the same thing and expect different results. You might have heard this sentence from many, many people. If you're doing the same thing, the results will be the same results that you did not like. But if we want different results, we definitely have to do different things. Now, the game is different. Now, most of the people, and I have seen this with photographers a lot more, most of the people struggle with this problem of trying to be perfect when it comes to their work. Any small gap, any small problem, any small mistake in their work is not acceptable for them. And that perfection gets to them. Now, you would ask me, but being a photographer, I always want to be better at my work. Being a creative person, I always want to give my best shot. And if somebody criticizes my work, it should be something that is motivating me to make better piece of work next time. I hear you, but there is a difference. Every time we get into perfectionism, we also feel really pressured. We feel anxious. We get into comparison because excellence is about me doing something better than what I had done, me improving my skill set because I know I want to pursue this thing to make it my best shot. Whereas perfectionism, which is also fear of making mistakes, it's about let me do things that other people will appreciate. Let me do things which would not be criticized by other people. Now, in Hindi, we say kuch to log kahenge. The very moment the orientation about your work is based on what other people are doing, you will constantly suffer from the perfectionism problem. Now, if you're not anxious, if you choose to feel calmer, if you really pick up areas where your mind is more settled, the creative ideas that we are talking about, even the business aspects that we are talking about, will be more available to you. Now, business will always come with competition. It is given, it is always accepted as a part of the business. When the competition is becoming unhealthy, you feel, oh my God, I cannot handle it. I have to be something, I have to constantly try to say certain things which I do not wish to say. Going back to the point number one that I made, the very moment I accept that I'm in a new game, and if I start looking at things as my my innovative way of dealing with this new situation, if I'm willing, then I would not feel awkward about introducing myself again and again, looking at every client in a new light, having a conversation because I want to make sure that this client sees my work. The very moment I'm operating from how it should have been, how I expect it to be, then I do not have the willingness to engage with the new person. Now, if you get into an assignment and if you know that if you are completely driven by what you have decided, and if you do not give any time, any energy, any space for your client to interact with you, or to feel comfortable, or for your client to feel relaxed, because so many times people are uncomfortable in spite of having great skills, because you do not have willingness to play with the situation, you might not see a great result. Now, same thing applicable with our life situation at this point in time. If you don't look at what my situation is, and if you're not willing to play with it, it's going to be really, really difficult. So, at no point I'm dismissing the problems that we have in hand. At no point I'm saying it's going to be a cakewalk, it's going to be easy. No, it's not going to be easy. But like there's a saying that I won't tell you that things would get better, but I would definitely tell you that if you are willing to make a game out of this, you will get better. You will have different ways to solve the same problem. Now, in last depression, many businesses, innovative businesses, took birth. People decided to solve the problems in a different light. They tried and experimented with tools and methods that they had never imagined they can think about. But when the situation, when the need became so strong, people found ways to go around the problem. Now, we are in that situation right now. You have a choice to look at the situation at hand as an opportunity, as a game, or you also have a choice to look at it from something you cannot deal with, something that is really draining you right now, and you're feeling stuck about it. My point is that choice that you have at this point in time, to feel stuck, to feel lost, to be in that rabbit hole, is the choice we can change by asking a question. And the question here is, very, very importantly, what do I require to do? What do I
Hmm.
require to do here? No matter what the
True.
situation looks like, what do I
But
require to do here?
many people, but unfortunately, many people don't even know that they have gotten into that hole and they are stuck there. They think that that is, something has brought me here. This is where I am supposed to be. And so, mera, I mean, my line is "Mera kya hoga kaliya." So so I'm stuck. I'm stuck here.
So
Um,
as long as
but people.
Radha, you understand that you're stuck, as long as you know that you're not
No,
operating from
that's what
your
I'm saying.
best.
Many of them don't even know that they are stuck because of. I mean, I've heard it many times over that you are a sum total of what you did in the past, and if you continue to do the same thing from now on, you will remain exactly where you are. You need to give yourself one push and get out of your, that you need a push. I mean, it's nature. I mean, you need to get out of the inertia. You need a kind of a push, but many
So
people
probably,
don't realize.
Radha, probably not. Probably you don't require a push. Sometimes you have to
Okay.
dissolve your perspective. Like, that
Okay.
push, most of the time, especially with younger generation, I feel the push becomes very, very tough for them to handle. They do
Yes.
not, because, you know, uh, for a previous generation it was easier because we mentally had expectations and you had seen people working very hard or going through the grind compared to the younger generation, who are luckier and they found things and solution much easier than the previous
Absolutely.
generation. So when they look at it, they're like, but I thought about it and I got it. I thought about it and I did my research and the information was more readily available. So when the point comes of giving the push, it becomes very difficult. It feels unnatural. And that is
Mm.
where, instead of always trying to push yourself without feeling ready, I'm saying, can we take a moment to ask ourselves certain questions? So
Okay.
let's understand how to know you're feeling anxious. The easiest way to look at your body. Most anxieties would make your breath shallow. You would feel anxious and your body would change. You would get some sensation in your tummy. You would feel some pressure behind your neck. Now that
Yes,
is a great sign to know whether you're stressed or not.
I
Now,
am.
if yeah, so these are the quickest examples of being stressed or knowing that you're going through a stress. Now, what we do is we apply some ointment, we pop some pills, drink some coffee or alcohol or cigarette. We just literally depend on the stimulants to make sure that you're
Mm.
up and about for your next day. Now,
Mm.
was it possible for us to do it once in a while? Yeah. Some people also got dependent on it, or they use it to enhance their performance, many different stimulants. The only challenge is now onwards, if we keep depending on these mechanisms, which we had from the past normal, in the new normal era, it may lead to collapse because the pressure
Okay.
might be already strong.
Okay.
So we are
Okay.
right at this point in time we are required to find a sustainable emotional, physical, and financial method to deal with the problem.
Mm.
And luckily, nobody is dealing with it alone. All of us have to do it. So another solace that we have here is, thank God, it's not only Aditi, it's also Radha, is also the person who is listening, also the newcomer, also the person who is like established. Everybody has to go through the grind to think about
Absolutely.
what do I require to do here. And I feel,
Mm.
in a way, it is comforting when you know that all of us are doing and all of us are figuring it out. If you have people who have figured it out and you are the unfortunate one, then it becomes even more difficult to deal with problems. So body is a great mechanism to know whether you're balanced or not. Now I'm going to take a moment and speak about handwriting. Now I'm asking people to journal. I'm asking yourself to ask a question. So take a situation. Can you give me a situation that stresses you out or makes you anxious?
Well, in the current, so currently the biggest stress point for many photographers. So here, when I say photographers, anyone who's professional, wedding photographer, commercial photographer, all are facing huge amount of cancellations. Now,
Right?
we all have major commitments. With your family, with the bank, with your employees. But suddenly, And you are the only person who will deliver. I mean, you are the only source of income, because we are all one man army. Unless, photographers are usually they work alone, and it is they come to me for me. They don't come to me for the company that I work with, because photographers are, and they were individual. Well, barring, let's say, there are exceptions, of course, but predominantly they come for you. Now, what happens when during COVID, because of restrictions, lots of assignment either got cancelled or postponed indefinitely. So that's the
Right.
immediate problem. So what results is a kind of a stress, financial stress.
So which also means that every time you get a call, there is this anxiety that is building up, that the
Yeah.
client gonna cancel or may
Yeah.
postpone or may negotiate the price. Let's take this
Currently, the
example.
anxiety, so the postponements have already happened. The current calls are from the banks. When are you depositing?
Oh,
You got some moratorium, but you have commitments, you have your bills to pay and things like that. So this is the anxiety.
right. So now let's look at it practically. When you do not have the money that you are supposed to pay the bank, can you pay the money? You cannot, right? At this point
No,
in time, yeah.
no.
So the practicality of it. So instead of saying, "Oh my God, the bank is calling," and you first thing observe how are you feeling when you are anxious. It's very, very important. Most of the time, people just get to like pushing that anxiety and not accepting it. Like it's only putting the toxin inside your system, inside your mind, and tomorrow it would come back, and tomorrow
Mm,
you would have to deal with it. So first take a moment to understand, okay, I am feeling anxious at this point in time. This really drives me crazy. So first thing is
mm,
acknowledgement and see what happens. Do I hold it in my neck? Do I feel it in my
mm,
tummy? Do I feel in my shoulders? Where exactly do
mm.
I feel my anxiety? If
It
you
get
start
accumulated
identifying
there.
it,
Mm,
yeah, and if
mm,
you identify that, the next time that starts feeling, you're like, oh, what am I anxious about? You can use this as a mechanism to know, because your body is attuned with your chemical reactions that are happening in your mind, in your brain. So it gives you signals. It's just that we do not know how to read these signals. This is where our struggle is. The very moment you understand, okay, this is where the struggle is, this is how I hold it, that becomes a mechanism to understand it. Second point is accept that this is a problem and I will have to deal with it. Like, I
mm,
know I don't have money, or I have less money, or I do not have an answer about this. So, what can I do? So, I'm saying,
mm,
second point is accept that I have a problem. If you deny
mm,
the problem, if you run away from the problem, if you try to go around the problem, if you push the blame on someone else, or you only throw your frustration or anger on someone you can, like your spouse, your child, your employee, your subordinate, if you do
mm,
that, that is not a solution,
mm.
right? So the very moment you say,
Yep.
okay, I accept I have a problem, it, it,
Mm.
it's difficult, I hate it, but I do have a problem,
Problem.
right? So I'm not
Okay.
saying
Okay.
suppress your emotions and feel everything is okay. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, okay, let's take a moment and understand I do have a problem that I have to deal with. The third stage is where I'm saying ask a question. What can I do?
Okay.
What
Okay.
exactly can I do? Is there anybody who has the solution for it? Can I make that call and speak with my friend?
Mm,
Can I speak with some banker? Can I?
mm,
So I get into a question mode. I call it I call it a Google search engine option. If you put
mm.
one keyword in Google, you have so many links coming up. But if you
Absolutely.
don't
Yeah.
put if you don't put that search word, there's nothing coming up. So similarly, in
Correct.
your mind, you have to ask a question. What can I do here? Your brain also
Uh,
has a Google search mechanism. You start thinking about all the solutions. Rather, you would agree with me on shoots outside Bombay, or in like, limited space when you're shooting and you don't have an equipment or light or something not working. You have option of like dropping the shoot, or you stand there and you say, what can I do here? Can
Absolutely.
I, right? So you
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
resourceful with what you have. Or you say,
Absolutely.
okay, in my that shoot I had done that, can we repeat it? Oh, we can't do it,
Absolutely.
can I try something else?
Yep.
So we literally become resourceful when we ask questions.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
very, very important. And I feel being photographers, you must be doing this. My father was an art director and photographer himself. So I have
Oh, okay.
seen him literally finding this jugaad ideas all the time. And I have
Oh
seen
yeah,
how ingenious and original photographers can be when they
yeah,
are very,
yeah,
very focused about finding the solution.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
but
let's
you
look at
become frantic, and then you will not be able to concentrate or find a solution.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So if you go like, oh my God, my equipment is not there and I can't fix the problem, then
yep,
nobody can help the situation at all.
yep,
But
yeah,
at some point, as I said, you make a U-turn and you say, wait a minute, what do I
yeah,
have here? What can I
yeah.
do from this, whatever is available right now?
Yes,
Then there are many solutions that start emerging. And that's what we
yes,
require to do. We
yeah,
require to get into this mode of
yeah,
accepting that my resources are going to be limited, but
yeah.
also I am determined to find a solution. Let me tell you, the solution might not look the way you have things in mind. You know, if
Huh.
in the beginning, if you said my frame must look like this, it might not look like this because now we are compromised with our resource or some equipment broken. So we have to do something different. But when you're willing to play the game, that different option is also available. So, what would stop us from achieving this result? Let's talk about that. One is the
Sure.
idea of perfectionism. If I say it has to be perfect, if I'm doing it, it must be done like that. In the period where the work is very very less, and probably you have to reinvent yourself, it's going to be difficult for you to get paid exactly the same amount of money you got paid in the past, or got same amount of work the way you got in the past. So let's accept it and let's start making the most of whatever we have in front of us. Second point is some of our friends might have to look for supportive career while pursuing photography. And I think we must be open for that option. So if you want to nurture your photographer within you for a very, very long time, then we might have to support that photographer with some other um professional or economical arrangements. So I speak with active.
Or even give ancillary services, like for example, if there is a currently too many people cannot come to a wedding, but the relative needs to reach that wedding to that many people, so you can give streaming services and web albums and things like
Yes,
that. So you need to
yes,
innovate and come up with interesting ideas in your own domain,
perfect.
and present. Yeah, so probably that will also help. But if you're frantic, of course you will not think like that.
Exactly. The third
Yeah.
point is most of the time sharing your not only the photography related knowledge, but whatever knowledge that you have, or in a way, in whichever format, helping someone else through the situation is very, very calming. It's
Mm.
very weird, but the very moment we
Yeah.
get into a role of teaching something, of helping someone, of being a provider for some food or whatever you can, but if you
Yeah.
do that, you can't be a caretaker and a frantic person at the same time.
Mm. Mm.
So find,
Okay.
like, if you don't have anybody to take care of right now, if you're living alone, like take a plant and take care of it. Like take something that you are nurturing, because that is very very calming. It's a quick fix. It's literally
Mm.
where you suddenly have something that you're nurturing. You get
Mm.
into the parental idea, and then you're not being
Mm.
the frantic child anymore,
Mm. Mm.
right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
find some people you can teach basic photography. If somebody's interested, answer the questions. Whatever you can do to help in that sense would come very,
Mm.
very handy. Okay. The
Mm.
next point is, I keep talking about this, but we have to understand the emotions can't be captured. We have to let the emotion out. The very moment you keep your fear stuck inside you, you don't know what to do with it, and it becomes that ticking bomb, which can burst
Mm.
at any point in time. So we don't know how that ticking bomb works and what exactly is happening. So it's very, very important that you develop a method where you can let your emotions out, so it doesn't
Mm.
reach a point where you break down. Most of the time people who hold emotions inside their heart feel this pressure and they pop, they break
Yeah.
down, they have
Mm.
this moment of feeling completely lost. Now let's not
Mm.
reach that moment, because it is
Yep.
easier to reach that moment than not. Now how do we reach that moment? by repeating certain kind of thoughts to ourselves.
Oh,
Now
okay.
catch
That's
yourself if you're repeating
that's
the
a
thought.
solution. So you are now giving me a solution.
Yes. So if
Okay.
you literally look at it, if you're repeating a thought, if you're constantly
Okay.
going around like, but what if this would happen? And what if that would happen? Now, remember this conversation if you can and
Sure.
find a way to break the loop. Find a way to break the loop. People believe that if they start watching TV, they are distracted and that is breaking the loop. No, no, no. That is distracting from the loop. Breaking the loop is most of the time looking at the loop and saying, okay, so what is the fear? So what is
Hmm.
happening? What would happen? What am I struggling with? Going
Hmm.
down that rabbit hole with a torch in your hand,
Uh,
not going down the rabbit hole feeling all lost, but with a torch. Like here, have you seen those new scuba divers sometimes are given a robe that they can follow and
yeah. Yeah.
they go
Yeah.
down. Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
And then you can come
And
back holding the
yeah.
same
Yeah.
rope.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are using the same mechanism of rope here. And we are using the question, we are using you being ready to look at the problem as the rope that you can hold on to come back. So
Hmm.
if there is a loop, if there is something that is coming to your mind again and again, a memory that is repeating and then that is making you feel uncomfortable, all of this is a sign of you being in anxiety loop. And the loop
Okay.
has to be broken,
Okay.
right? If you are in a loop,
Okay.
you'll reach the same destination again and again and again and again, which you don't want, I believe. So
Okay.
we have to break the loop. One of the things, I'm going to speak about two, three things that work really, really well. One of the
So,
things
so,
that works,
so, sorry, just hold on to that thought, please. I want
yes,
to kind of remind the viewers that there will be question and answer sessions. So don't waste your good questions here now because it's going to keep scrolling in front of me and I will not be able to pull it out. So write it down somewhere, not just immediately, put it into the chat box. Please write it down and she is going to be here. We don't have a hard stop. Okay, we
yes,
can continue. We will make sure that your question is answered. So currently there is a very relevant question here, but unfortunately I cannot pull that onto the screen because then we will get diverted. So let's listen Aditi completely, then we will have the questions coming in from you people. Please write it down. Don't waste your question here by typing it early in the discussion. So Aditi, please continue. Thank you.
okay. So the point is what all we can do when it comes to when we are feeling completely hyper, when we are in the moment where we cannot make a U-turn. Now, first thing is I would ask myself certain questions. First question I would ask is, what am I trying to fix here?
Okay.
What am I trying to fix? Am I trying to fix my financial situation? Do I want to feel good about the problem that is in front of me? Am I trying to fix the impression that my mistakes or my failure will have on other people? What am I trying to fix? The very moment you're completely driven by what you're trying to fix, it becomes easier for your mind to understand it. So write this question on top. Say, what am I trying to fix right now? And take a moment and write everything that comes to your mind. I spoke about stress can be identified in your body. I am taking that thread and I'm speaking about handwriting to journal as the body mind mechanism. Anytime that you decide to write, your mind has to slow down and calm down. You can type faster, but you can't write at the same speed because your mind requires to slow down and calm down. Second point, while writing, you cannot multitask. You have to pay attention on one thing. So I have seen people who write these emotions also start finding the solution because they calm down. The loop starts slowing down. It does not, like a fast train, you can't, like Simran running behind the train in Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge. She can't catch the train if the train is too fast. She can catch it only because the train is slower and she can keep up the pace and she can run enough and she can, obviously with the help of Shahrukh. But here is the point. If your train slows down of your thoughts, you can catch up. Similarly, when you write your thoughts, they become slower and you can catch up with it. And that becomes extremely helpful. The second question is, what do I require to do here? Again, the situation, you understood I'm trying to fix this. But then I say, what do I require to do here? Not what do I desire to do, because I may desire to right now, travel to Milan and do that photo shoot or do a destination wedding. I may desire so many things, but we are on a crisis situation. We are on a survival situation. So definitely I don't want to jump in and start finding the solution when I know my leg is broken. I use this analogy that if you are in the hospital because your leg is broken, your immediate objective is not to run, but to walk or to stand maybe, and then start walking slowly. And when you feel that you're walking, then you can start walking faster, and then you can start running. Now, COVID and the lockdown has created this situation for us where our legs are broken. We can't immediately start running. The very moment we say, what do I require to do? I require to just stand at this point in time. I require to figure out how do I innovate and solve the problem. I require to take score. I require to renegotiate certain financial arrangement. I require to speak with my clients. I require to, what all do I require to do? I might not like to do it. I don't desire to do it. But when I ask myself this question, what do I require to do here? My brain starts figuring out, okay, this is missing, that is broken. I require to get this thing going. I will find solutions. And that is the point. That is where we start thinking differently. One more. The third question is, what am I grateful for at this point in time? Now we are talking about things being broken, things not being available, not things that I do not have. But what do I have that is not gone? What do I have that has not left me? What do I have that I can thrive, I can use, I can jump with? What do I have? I have all my fancy gadgets that I bought as the most updated things. Most of you have, isn't it? So when you have those cool gadgets, you have your gadgets with you. You already have some professional expertise. You already have the love for photography, and you already know that you are working at the in the field that you feel excited about. Now, most of you, as I understand, I see that in, I'm not generalizing this, but I've seen it with many creative people, that most creative people choose their career because of their love and passion for it. Very rarely I have met photographers who do it because it's money and I can like spend 5 hours and I can get loads of money. I've rarely seen. I know there are photographers like that, but I've rarely met people like this. Most people want to find their style of photography. They love the beauty that this profession and the glamour this profession brings. Now you're here for some love, and like any other relationship with your loved one or romantic relationship, you may go through some tough patches, and there might be a tough phase where your lover is not willing to talk to you, or it is not happening at the same pace. Now, let's not break up. Let's not break down. Let's take this time to relook at, why do you love what you love to begin with? The very moment you say that, okay, I know why I'm committed to this relationship with my work or photography, you can come up with multiple different ways to work in spite of the limitations. And when you're being grateful, you can't be critical at the same time. Is how the chemical of the brain works. If you are being grateful, you can't be critical at the same time. So that is like one of the very important things to keep in mind. Now I'm going to open the session for questions, and I want to teach one particular handwriting, doodling, therapeutic stroke that can calm our minds down, and we can literally use that. Radha, can I take a moment before we start the Q&A?
Uh, yeah, of course you can.
Yeah,
You want to
I'm just
go
going to
away
take.
from this? You want to
Yes, I
go
want to go
away?
away from the screen for a minute. If you can, then take the questions. By
Sure,
then,
sure.
okay?
I'll take care till then. Okay, so the big takeaways so far is that, of course, the problem is there. There is a problem, but there are many things which are within your control, your circle of influence, so-called circle of influence, and there are many which are outside, which you can't really uh, control. For example, if you have financial commitments, and if you have, due to COVID and your expected revenue has not come in, you can't pay people and things like that. Well, it is beyond your circle of your influence, or which you can't really control. So there is no point in excessively worrying about it. What she's saying is that instead of getting stuck in that same, oh, I don't have money, what do I do, kind of circle, she's saying look at it from, step behind, step away from that problem, look at it and say, okay, now you are the problem, so what do I do? When you calm your mind, so there is an old saying that you create your own environment. If you constantly remain in an anxious, hypertensed kind of world, everything around you will also be that. Okay, but if you stay away from that problem, look at it neutrally and say, okay, I see your problem, okay, what are the solutions? Then you manifest things slightly differently. So people say, yes, like Casino says, life ain't easy. Yes, it is not easy. It is not easy to anybody. I can give you an example of, so way back in the late 80s, sometimes there was this drummer who won 7 Grammys in 1 year. Okay, Phil Collins, for the album called Studio. He won 7 Grammys in that year. He was walking out, taking one award, and he was called in again. He was literally, kind of hovering around the presentation area, 7 Grammys in 1 year. Now, suddenly he disappeared from the whole scene. And the next time, some magazine caught up with him, took an interview, and he says, look, I am completely lost and I don't know what to do. And the awards, the accolades that he was fighting for, I mean, he was working for all this while, is suddenly caught up with him and say, Abhi, what do? I need to do something. So that became that solution, or that rewards actually became a problem. So you see, so it is, success is not always, kind of give you a very, very easy, exactly like your failures, or these kind of situations. Even success has its own problems. You ask anyone who's successful, being on the top, tell him remaining there is the most difficult part, rather than working your way up. Staying there is probably the most important one. Now, Aditi is back, so let me, it's back to you, Aditi.
Yes. So what questions do we have?
All right. So let's look at what you wanted to give some exercise before taking questions, didn't you?
Okay, I thought I would do it later, but let's begin here. Can you see this?
Let me take you full screen, okay?
Okay. Now, this particular stroke is like the simplest stroke that you would see. It's S written in a loop. And when you do that, when you practice this stroke, and I think you're seeing the mirror image of it. Yes, you are. Yeah, this is.
Can I interrupt a bit, please?
Yes, please.
Can I interrupt a bit, please? Sorry. So there was a question in the beginning. Okay, many of them did not really know what graphology was all about, and we suddenly got diverted and got excited, and we got into explaining the anxiety situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there was a question somewhere in between. Is graphology is like numerology and astrology and things like this? Is it esoteric, and does it have any bearing? Is it just a belief? So if you start from there, then probably they will be in a much better position to kind of accept your solutions. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So graphology is similar to psychology, I would say, because it is about constantly our body is communicating with our minds, and that capturing, as I spoke about, stress gets accumulated in a certain manner, and we have different bodily reactions for our emotions. That communication is happening all the time. Now, do you remember in school, one teacher was teaching 50 students, but every single student developed his or her way of writing? Now, ideally, we were supposed to only copy from the board, But while copying, you developed your own font or your own style of writing. Now, why that happened? Because that mere copying, when it went through your personality or your personal way of thinking, and that body movement captured who you were. Now, there was research done for many, many years, over last 400 years. People found correlation between the handwriting and or any writing formation that people were using and the mindset. Now, over a period of time, as writing became finer, the research became finer, and now they're established 800 strokes which can speak about it, 800 minute styles that can speak about what kind of mental framework do you have, what kind of health issues do you have, what kind of stress you feel. Now we are all different. We are giving that information away all the time when it comes to your body language, when it comes to your communication style, when it comes to how do you eat. Do you eat your sweet first or do you eat it later? People have done personality research studies on all these choices that we make. Now, handwriting is one of the ways we can read the personality. Is it the only way? No, it's not. There are so many ways. Handwriting is my way. So I have spent 16 years doing the research of one thing, that what handwriting strokes can speak about different personality types and how can you bring the most important aspect of the person by understanding the person. The second aspect, which I feel people struggle a lot to believe in, is the reverse mechanism. Now, I'm going to use an example that I feel is closest to how handwriting works. I was speaking about the breath, right? Now, when we feel angry, our breath is short and at times it's warm and it's like, I am upset about things. When you're feeling calmer, the breath is really long and it is different kind of breath. When you're happy, the breath is different. When you are sad, the breath is different. Now, based on our situation, our reactions, and our emotions, our body is chemically processing it, and the breath represents that. Now, if you have done yoga, if you have heard about yoga or pranayam, what do? They take 20 minutes to regulate the breath to make sure.
I hope you guys can hear me. So they use the breath that becomes more calming breath, and throughout your day, though you're not necessarily doing pranayama, you're literally feeling the breath functioning in that manner. We are using the same analogy here. I, at one point in time, when I was analyzing somebody's handwriting, I thought, what if brain is functioning in a certain manner, and if handwriting is capturing it, what if I use the whole thing in a reverse manner? What if I move my hand in a certain manner? Will it have an impact on the mind? Now, that was my curiosity, to be very, very honest. And there is some research which is already done over the years on this topic called graphotherapy.
Sorry to interrupt. Can you shift that ear pod onto the left, the other one, because the hair is rubbing on it and it's creating a small audio disturbance, please. Yeah. Thank you.
Is it better?
It's better.
Is it better?
Yes, it is better.
Okay, perfect. So when we look at that correlation between your hand and mind, so it was my curiosity. And I said, okay, let me try it out. Let me try it out on people. And that's the only way to know, including myself. So I used graphotherapy. So the subject is called graphology, which is study of the graph that your handwriting makes. Graphotherapy is using that graph as a therapy, as a reverse mechanism. Now, my mother was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes when I was in the beginning part of this research and curiosity. I said, if my mother is anxious and she is feeling certain emotions, if I replace it with different kind of handwriting stroke, which I'm going to teach you right now, one of them, will it really have an impact? And as my curiosity was much higher and I was asking questions, which I mentioned, what can I do here? How can I find a solution with graphotherapy? These were the questions I was asking. So I I asked her to practice a particular stroke. And she, being a diligent student that she is, she practiced it for 8 months. After that period, my mother's sugar levels were diagnosed. When she went for her regular test, They came down and then she went off the medicine and never to come back again. Now, I thought that could be a fluke. Probably she was cured with her medicines and probably that was okay. But then I tried this method on people and my friends and other clients that I met over a period of time. So by now, I have worked with 4,000 people who have tried the stroke that I'm talking about, and I'm asking you guys to do it because this is one of the strokes that I have that has generic calming effect. Other things are very customized. If I understand your problem, if I understand your story, I know where your anxiety is coming from. We use it for a customized therapy. But this one is like a doodling practice, but it works for I think everybody, but I would say almost everyone because I've tried and tested it for so many people. So over to the stroke. Now, if you look at it, if you look at the stroke, it begins here. Like do it in the manner I'm asking you to do because it has to be done specifically. 5 points, not many, not that complicated. We just have to remember 5 points. First, it begins on the top. Second, it goes in a flow. So if your hand stops because your mind goes somewhere else, your hand stops because the movement is difficult for you, just stop and start again. Start a new stroke like you're starting a new word. So next to it, start a new word. The third point is all the loops have to be open. They cannot be closed, squeezed, very fat, none of that. They have to be like circles, not like fat potatoes kept here. So just make sure that these loops are loops and they're open. Fourth point is the stroke has to end here. Now, most people end the stroke in the air. It's like that fancy thing, or they start with a tail. So no tail, not in the beginning, not in the end. So it has to end on the line. This has to be practiced on a ruled paper, on a lined paper, not on a blank paper. I'm showing this only for our example. The fifth point, which is very, very important, is breathe deeper than your normal breath. Don't sit and do long breaths, but just slightly deeper than your normal breath when you're doing this practice. Now, I'm asking you to coordinate a physical movement with your breath. Physical movement with your breath. And when the breath is longer and you're doing this process, you're telling your mind, instead of just moving from one topic to another, instead of just staying stuck into the problem that I am constantly thinking about, I need a space to be calmer and think in a creative manner. Because we are not thinking about creativity right now, this is an artificial or disciplined way of inducing creativity. The stroke is known to have, it's called flow of thoughts. So I use it for my clients who are actors, clients who are creative writers, clients who are even speakers. Most of the time, before you get into that creative zone, doing this practice is very, very important. So now, how much practice you should do? Make sure at least this is A5 sheet as a size, A5 sheet, which is half of A4. If you do any diary, most diaries are of this size, any diary if you pick up of this size and on a ruled paper, so you'll do as much as you can in a normal handwriting size, that is a very, very beneficial thing to do. Try it at least for 7 days, then make up your mind. Initially you would say, what is this? It's like just doing this going to help me or what? But it will help you if you just give it 7 days. Within 2 days, people have reported that they start feeling calmer. I'm trying to create a mechanism where, or I'm giving the solution to you guys so that when you don't have anybody to speak with, when you feel stuck, when you feel really not knowing what to do, you can practice this stroke to at least have your mind calm enough for you to know what to do, or for you to have that space to ask a question.
So you mean to that calmer mind, your solutions will come much better, faster. You will be able to analyze the situation better because of this. So it's a simple physical exercise. I mean, write repeatedly in a very disciplined manner. Concentrate. It's almost meditative, right? I mean, it's like a meditation. You're like. Slowly calming your mind and kind of focusing it onto one activity, thereby probably your mind will calm down and it will enable your other faculties to start thinking probably more effectively. Is that the reason?
Exactly. But most people can't meditate. Their mind is not in their control, and especially with anxiety, it is difficult for people to focus on anything and not think. Now, this is where the physical act comes into play. Handwriting fundamentally slows our mind down. Handwriting demands that you look at the stroke, otherwise it will go all over the place. So you can't multitask with it. And now when you use handwriting and breath, and your mind will wander. It's not that your mind is going to be steady, but that's okay. Let the mind wander. We're not asking the heart to stop, lung to stop. We'll also not ask the mind to stop, but we will keep doing the practice. Now, that is very, very crucial that we keep doing the practice, at least for the 10 minutes when you're doing one page, and just see it. Like, the only thing I can say, I have tasted how beautiful it is. All I can do is invite you to try it. Because if you don't do it, there's no way I can, speak enough about it. But all you have to do is grab a notepad. It's a simple stroke. If you don't like it, throw out of the window, no problem. But what if you figure out something that can just become your friend when you're feeling stuck?
Your suggestion is so simple that people are likely to take it. I mean,
casually, like, how can this work?
Yeah,
how
can this work? Absolutely. Most of the time. So I keep listening to people talk sense, and I was listening to this spiritual guru who was asked that you were posed with these very pregnant questions, very, very deep problems, and your answer is so simple. Why do you do that? So he says, look, the almara may be big, but you don't require an equally big chavi to open it. You require a small key to open. You see? So your solution can be staring at your face right next to you. So simple. But you are refusing to accept it, saying that, look, that's nonsense. That's simple. That cannot solve my problem. Look at my problem. It's huge. Given a chance, I would have gone away to London and escape the bank. But writing a small doodle, is it going to help me? But I mean, I'm kind of convinced that it can see a calm mind, I think, will on its own find solutions. And people think, usually people equate success to money. And you ask a person who's wealthy, he will tell you about his own battles that he is fighting, you see. So everybody, whether you are successful or not successful, it is in your mind. The moment you are in that person's shoe, suddenly you realize that the kind of battles he fight, Tukaram's very famous saying, if you're an elephant, you are beaten with a small stick by a small man, and you are kind of, paraded throughout the country. And look at the small ant. It will sneak into this pot of sugar. It'll eat in its own speed and kind of come out and leave a happy. So it depends on how you look at life. So yeah. So
I'm just going to recite this. I'm just going to recite this. So beautiful. It says.
Yeah.
लहानपण देगा देवा
exactly
साथ खरेचा रवा ऐरावत हत्ती थोर त्याला अंकुशाचा मार. That's so beautiful. I'm just saying it because it's like, if you follow Marathi, it's so beautifully written.
Yeah, it's so beautifully written. So the life is actually, if you look at it, life is actually pretty simple, but we actually make it so complicated, and we want to go through all that trouble before you find a simple solution. But here it is, staring at you in front of you. Yeah.
I'm going to add something to it, okay? I love studying high performers. That's my hobby. If somebody is like doing any act with that ease of high performance, I love to study those people. And I read biographies, I interview people, and I love doing that. Now, let me tell you something that I observed. If you are intelligent, if you are curious, if you're willing to be, somebody who is looking at life in a larger frame, you will always solve problems, and you will create problems to solve them. You'll create challenges to solve them. So in a way, life throws problems at you. But even if life wouldn't have, if you are intelligent and creative as a person, you will always find problems that you are solving. And that's why you thrive. This is where you feel happy. Now our happiness is not when things are given to us that we are not interested in. Most of the time happiness is about going after things we want to achieve and find our expression while achieving it. Now that is one of the things that we're going to do anyways, no matter how tough it becomes, how easy it becomes. So if it is all about problem solving, then let's solve problem with special abilities. And calmer mind is one of the secrets of most high performer people. Now some people
Okay, I understand. Wow. See, now we started with such a big expectation and said, at end of the day, the solution is so simple. It's so simple. And the exercise that you have given out, I'm going to try it for sure. Okay, I've because I watched your intro video, so we will add a link to the in the description. I will add a link to your intro video, and where you have actually explained how to do this repeatedly in detail. We will add to all the viewers. We will add that in the description so you can follow that. I even told my son, I even told my 9th standard, I mean, his 13-year-old son to start doing it. He asked me, why do I have to do it? No, it is so simple. So if it's so simple, why do I have to do it? So, he had questions. So finally, he has agreed to do it. Let's see, after 42 days, like you suggested. Yeah.
So actually, we have created a free anti-anxiety journaling workshop for 21 days. In the lockdown, we thought, what can we do? So this is what we came up with. And this is available on my website, which is aditisurana.com. You can go enroll and you'll receive the stream of all the videos that are available to you. I explain a concept, I give you a question to write about, then you do the handwriting practice, and then you find your own solutions. It is a beautiful process, so please consider doing it. Like, learn the stroke properly, as we will put it in the link. Otherwise also you can learn the stroke properly. And if you're willing to take the journey deeper with yourself, the resources already created. All we require is your willingness to go beyond your anxiety.
Wonderful. So thank you very much. With that, Aditi, I mean, I think let's start taking some questions. If you have questions, please throw at us. In fact, to Aditi. Oops, I'm not.
No, perfect.
So the way bringing positive change, like handwriting, who do I saw some interesting. Oops. People are asking what to buy and what cameras to buy. Guys, this is not a gear advice situation. Suggestions. I saw one interesting question somewhere.
I'm seeing on this platform, Bhavesh Karia asked a question. He said, I already made a comment that I wouldn't call a friend. My friend is also in the same situation, and I agree with you. Like, when we ask, why am I insisting so much on writing your own responses in your own diary instead of calling people or call your friends, especially? For two reasons. One, they may or may not have the solution, and you may feel even more stuck about it. When I said I will call a person who can provide a solution, I meant an expert. I would call a banker. I would call somebody who would have a solution, not my friend, because my friend, one, might not have the solution. Second, I would also not discuss all these things with my friend because I imagine rather you are close friends. Now you already know me, and if I tell you something before I even express my problem, you start telling me solutions. That's what happens with close friends many a times. We don't want that. We want you to use this mechanism to emote and to not have the baggage in your heart. It is very difficult to function with a heavy heart. We don't know what to think, and just that loop does not break. So we have to do everything to get the infection out and then do whatever required to solve the problem. So that's why,
please.
No, that's why writing and not calling a friend. Yeah.
Sure. So the Nirmala Sabdekar from Pune, she's asking, can you change an angry person. I'm hoping that from an angry person to a calmer person by changing handwriting. Can it help?
So
Do you want to become
Nirmala,
an angrier? Can you Nirmala ji, you want to become an angrier person, or you want to become a cooler, calmer person? Yeah.
so can I change the person? No, I cannot unless and until the person doesn't want to change himself or herself. Like one thing I learned in my practice that you can never change anybody. And I thought with all the gears that I'm learning, I will have some superpower to change people. But you cannot change anybody. You can only change yourself. So if you're talking about can you change yourself if you're angry, yes, there are certain kind of therapies that we implement. This stroke could be the beginning, so I would recommend that you begin here. And if you still have those anger issues, because sometimes anger also becomes lesser when you start feeling calmer, then this can work. But if you still feel that you are having these issues, you can connect and we can talk about it. Can you change someone else? I want to add this one small thing. People who are in lockdown and really want to kill their loved ones, it is that anxiety I'm going to address with this question. That the only way we can change someone else is by being calmer ourselves. We can't expect the person to be calm for us to feel calmer. It never works like that. And all it does, it literally creates more pressure in that relationship, and the snapping or the irritation increases more. So that I feel is a slightly difficult arrangement for most of us. Also, between when two people fight, just and if one person is being angry, when that person is not angry, sit down and understand the problem is not between you and the person. The problem is in front of us. Both of us are facing the problem, and you are a team. So only saying that the other person is angry or the person is not suitable or the person is not doing things is blaming and is aggravating the problem. The very moment you see the problem is not between us, the problem is in front of us, and we are
Yeah.
a team, it brings in
Yeah.
a lot of calmness to deal with it.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you very much. I just learned something. I must tell my wife about it. I'm not going to complain about certain things from now on. All right. Thank you, Nirmala ji, for asking that question. Hope you got the answer. The next question is from Israr Qureshi. Israr sir is asking, how many days should one practice the writing?
So Israr, you can begin with 7 days if you are still figuring out whether the stroke works or not. 7 days is a good practice. Most of the time, people feel so relaxed that they make it a part of their daily practice. So in the morning when they wake up, before starting the work, they take 10 minutes to just do this because the brain is more available. I would recommend 21 days, which in Sanskrit or Indian process we call it half mandala, or 42 days, which is a complete mandala. Now, your brain functions in a certain manner. The habit formation is deeper if you go through these cycles. And I have seen more results when people completed minimum 21 days. So I look at it, and after my experience in study, I have concluded minimum 21 days would show you the results, which are long lasting. So that is the answer
Sure.
to your question.
Thank you, sir, for asking that question. And next question is from Jesse Obroy. Jesse, sir, oh, thank you. I mean, we know all these people because photography, and Jesse sir is in fact one of the mentors at Pixel Viilage, and he himself is a very popular YouTuber. So an amazing photographer he is. The main question is that even making someone accept that she is going through anxiety itself, then acceptance that I have a problem or I'm going through anxiety itself is a big question. That's the main question, he says.
I completely agree with you. Now, luckily, I have seen people acknowledging their anxiety. They would not talk about it, they would not like describe it, but they realizing it is increasing at a social level because people are realizing that they are becoming stuck or they're suffering with it. But can you make the other person realize it? Probably by gently asking certain questions. That when the person is feeling anxious, like, do you experience something in your body? Do you have the thoughts coming to you repetitively? Do you feel trapped? But only by asking questions. We should never comment or never say that you are anxious or you are an anxious person. That makes that person very, very difficult to accept their own anxiety. And it happens, we do it out of care. You care about your child, you care about your spouse. They say, I think you're being anxious nowadays, and you are doing it out of concern. But let's understand, the person who's anxious doesn't want to have one more pressure of being somebody who's suffering. They really want to feel that they are in control. If we ask questions, if we create the environment where they can trust to be diagnosed, to open up, to look for solutions, then I feel it would be a very, very good thing. The easiest thing we can do for people who are suffering around us is to be available without having any judgment or solution in our minds. We shouldn't be giving solutions to their problems. Like today, I'm speaking and I'm, I'm supposed to address you guys, but if I'm speaking to a client or if I'm speaking to a friend or a family member, I speak rarely about what they should do. I hear them. The most important thing, even if people don't understand that they're anxious, and talking to you, just opening up and sharing what is bothering them, you can help them relook at their own anxiety. And if they are willing, then we can suggest solutions. But if they are willing, if you're not hungry, you can't force a person to eat. The person has to acknowledge that I'm hungry and I'm looking for food. Same thing with emotions. The person has to understand that I'm suffering from this.
Thank you, Justice Up. Hope you have the answer there. Prashant Shetty Agari asking, I am a bit angry person. I mean, I get angry as soon as I get angry soon. So how to practice, please advise.
Okay.
Meaning he's an angry person. So what kind of practice he should do to control his anger?
Right. So I don't believe in controlling the anger at all. Because if you control the anger, you will have a bigger blast tomorrow. Now, what I would do is I would understand what are my triggers that make me angry. And that is more doable than stopping the anger. Now, when it reaches a point of reaction, I use the example of pressure cooker. So most of the time, anger is like the whistle that is going up and other people are getting startled when you get angry. Now, what you're trying to do, or most people try, is cover the whistle with the lid so that it won't make any noise. Now that's not going to happen. You literally have to reduce the temperature of the gas, or you have to reduce the flame or switch it off for the whistle to not go off or not blow. Now that is your trigger point. Trigger point is observing what exactly bothers me. Now let's look at it. Okay, we talk about freedom so much. But if I'm going to get triggered because somebody speaks to me like this or looks at me like that, then I'm a slave of that person's reaction. So there is no freedom to begin with. Now, anger is about, most of the time, telling people to back off and don't bother me. We get angry because of that. I would call it temper more than anger. If it is a repetitive thing, then it is temper. Anger is where reactions are less available. You feel angry is like the burning coal, which keeps burning for a long time. But if it is like what you're talking about, as to my understanding, is more temper. And temper is about just pushing people away so that you get time to think. You get time to take control of your life or the situation. And that's why you're like, shut up. And then you get to the work and you do the work. Now, if we can bring that control, that calmness with some other practice, for this, in this case, the S-stroke practice, then you would already have your calmness or your space to think. You don't have to push people around. But don't try to stop the reactions. Go and find the trigger. Most of the time, we get angry with one thing and we force that anger on something else, absolutely unrelated. So observe yourself doing that.
Sure. Thank you very much. Hope, Prashant, you got your answer there. What a beautiful, focused and solution-providing talk, Aditi. Kudos to you and your approach to problem solving. Ranjan Sharma. Ranjan sir is again one of our mentors and very, very senior man, very, very accomplished photographer from Delhi. Well, we have questions flowing in. Do we have the time?
Should we take
okay,
we'll take two.
We take two more questions. Okay. Let's say three questions.
Okay.
Okay. Now, how to control your mind from confusion? Confusion from thousands of thoughts in my mind.
Okay.
That's a question from Prasenjit Boral.
Prasenjit, I would say, one, I haven't met anybody who could ever control his or her mind. Mind's fundamental function, if your heart's function is to pump your blood, mind's function is to explore and wander. What we can do at max is we can channelize our minds. We can never control it, and it's a useless activity to attempt to stop your mind and train it to think in a certain way. But we can channelize it, which means you can look at it. I have this frame, or I have the frames around my house. I have different quotes, different exercises. Now these are the reminders that I have around my house that allow me to channelize my energy again and again. It is not only to get let your mind go scattered, but it is to channelize it. So when I look at it, and consciously or unconsciously my eye goes on, at some or other frame during the day, and that becomes my reminder to channelize my mind in a certain manner. Or using routines, using certain exercises that you commit yourself to do, can become a way to channelize your mind. Now, let me tell you, confusion is a great thing. Confusion is not a problematic thing, it's a great thing. And why am I saying it? Confusion is a point where you start deliberating and start changing your old ideas. If we don't have confusions, we would never have new ideas. So I don't think confusion is necessarily a bad thing. Too much of confusion, where you're repeating the same confusion, is a pattern. And I believe lucky people are those who are not bound by the old patterns. So then the exercises and the tools we spoke about can come really handy to deal with your confusion. And the anxiety workshop, the journaling workshop that I spoke about, also has many areas where we speak about confusion in a different light. But I hope I answer your question.
There was a question which was asked by Nikhil Mehra, I think, somewhere on top. It's kind of scrolled up. He said, "Can I stop overthinking?" That's the question. Can I stop overthinking?
So, can you stop overthinking? If you are in a real habit of overthinking, let's not attempt stopping it. Let's find a way to go around it. Now, this is very very important part. Most of the time, people think mind has to follow my instruction. I am saying, what if mind and body are our two gadgets? Two different kind of gadgets, but they are our gadgets. Now, if you want to create an amazing picture or click a perfect shot, then we're going to use these gadgets to the fullest capacity. Now, overthinking is not using one gadget to the fullest capacity because it is being overworked, which is your mind. Now, let's not try to stop it because that is difficult. It does not work. The stopping, when you're overthinking, stopping does not work. Now, overthinking is about imagining the past or imagining the future, and thereby you forget where you are and you keep thinking, what if this goes wrong, what if that goes wrong in the future, or in the past, why did that go wrong, or why did this go wrong. Now these are habits. Overthinking is a habit. So one of my close friends, he used to go through this habit again and again, and we tried giving him a question that, what do I require to focus on right now, what do I require to do here right now. So every time he caught himself, not every time he thought, because mind is very sharp and it takes you on its own journey. So not every time he thought, but every time he caught himself doing it, he asked a question, and he asked a question again, and he asked a question again. Now, is it easy? No, it's not. It takes some practice and it requires attempt. But feeling overwhelmed and feeling stuck with overthinking is also not easy. So let's not go down the path and keep doing things that are not helping us. Let's find different ways to solve the problem.
I get this sticker saying super sticker 19 rupees. I honestly don't know what it is. I am completely new to this chat and the super chat and these kind of small tricks. So Ajit, if you have any question to ask, I hope I don't owe 19 bucks to you, but if you are giving it to me, fine. Thank you very much. If you have a question, please ask. Thank you. I honestly, I don't know what that question is about. Yeah. So I think lots of people are happy. Thank you, Pixel Village. So this is Eric McPherson from London. thank you, Pixel Village, for keeping us educated through this lockdown. Thank you very much. I'm really happy to see that someone from London, someone from UK is listening to our humble channel. Thank you very much. How can I deal with anxiety knowing the competition is high? I think we have answered this question during. If you have entered this discussion later, please, you can always go back. It's an hour long. Please go back and watch, and you will have your answer, because this was addressed during the conversation. Yeah. So this is related to that pressure cooker analogy. He's saying most of the time he forgets to reduce the flame of the pressure cooker. It realizes it only after that, the blast, that can you suggest some solution? Simple, reduce the flame. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
So there's a Japanese philosophy called Ikigai. Ikigai is about people, your reason to wake up, the things that you do because they bring joy to you. And I am a big practitioner and a student of different Eastern philosophies, because they speak a lot about what is my contribution or what is my reaction to the situation that is happening or occurring in front of me. Now, what you're talking about, I recognize the situation only after the blast. It could be a good thing, and in the moment when the blast is happening, you can't do much about it. Now, when you take a moment in the beginning of the day or during the day to write certain questions, in your case, I would give you a question like, what is triggering me to have this reaction? And it's applicable to all of us. We get triggered every now and then. But if the day you have that blast, but not when you're angry, when you're done with it, when you feel calmer, probably after 2 hours or after 6 hours, whenever you feel calm, just sit down and say, what exactly triggered me there? And observe the situation. If you can trace the pattern, you can break the pattern. And that's the beauty of the mental mind. And you might not be able to break it immediately. But what I highly suggest is, when you capture it, ask yourself, if not triggering and reacting, what else I could have done? Probably I could have walked away from this situation. Okay. No, but I didn't want to walk away. So your mind starts coming up with things. Or I could have spoken to the person afterwards. Or I could have, removed the situation completely. You will come up with solutions. Now, in that moment, you can't go back and fix your past. I agree. Next time when you feel upset, when you are in the same situation, your mind knows that it has 3 options to choose from. Is beautiful. Once you see that you could have had 3 options, you can't unsee it. So next time when you are about to get into the situation, your mind can come up with multiple options. And most people who have practiced this journaling or observing, so Ikigai also speaks about remove yourself from the situation a bit. So when we become slightly detached, Yoga Sutra speaks about it as detached involvement. So you literally practice being slightly detached from the situation. Is, I would say, you unfocus, you go away from the frame to see the perspective, you zoom out enough to know what all is in the frame, and then you choose where to zoom in. That is what is where the choice comes from. But when you do it multiple times, then you can literally do it when you need it in the moment. But if you don't practice it, it's like, just to use your professional thing, if you don't practice with your equipments, you can't use them immediately at a professional moment of shoot. You have to have that connect, and then in the moment, you'll know exactly what to do. But that can only happen if you practice it when you're not shooting.
Hey, thank you, Sandeep, for asking that question. We got a very, very, detailed answer for that. Now, this question was asked somewhere, in the beginning of our discussion. Is there something like getting anxious and stressed, being scared of success?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. Like, I began the work and I was 18 and a half when I started my practice. And I used to think every single person wants to be successful. That's the obvious thing. So when I started studying people and understanding people, I met early on in my career, I met people who didn't want to be successful. Like in corporate terminologies, they were okay being chief finance officer, but not CEO. They're like, I'm okay heading my department, but I don't want to be the main leader. And I wondered, I'm like, why would they not want to grow? Or some people didn't want the recognition. So we call it fear of success. Now, how we have fear of failure, we also have fear of success. Now, what happens with fear of success? We feel sometimes, some people feel that if I succeed beyond my capacity, then I will have to make sure I maintain that and then I can't fall back. Sometimes that fear tells you to not be in the limelight so that other people will constantly expect you to be better than what you did last time. Now, fear of success is real. There is information available online and you can read about it and you can understand it. But let's look at it where the fear is coming from. Any fear, and I'm saying this general to all fears, all kind of fears that we have. All fears are patterns. Some patterns are stronger than others, but they are patterns. So we do have a choice to disengage and look at that pattern. If you can detect the pattern, you can break the pattern. And I feel that is very liberating when it comes to people.
Thank you very much, Rolling Stone. One last question. I think we are way past our time, and
I'm so happy because
they are, but I am in a danger. I mean, if people, my home people are quarantined in that room and that room behind and all that. They're going to come out with guns and sticks and all, and so I need to kind of I'm using their dining table. So
okay.
So the next question, very, very important question. Ajit is asking, being a primary school teacher, can I give this exercise to my children in the class and his own children? What adaptation do I have to make? You mean this S repetitive S writing is, I think, what he's referring to.
Ajit, thank you so much for this question. I feel this is only graphotherapy stroke that can be taught to anybody, and there is no restriction for you. Please teach it to as many kids as possible, but I would request that try and teach them with the breath regulation. That is an important part. Now, I don't know how you're going to manage to teach this to kids. I have never worked with kids in my entire life, so I do not know. I can't help you to translate it for them. But make sure that you teach them with the breath and all the 5 points. Can I quickly revise the points here?
Yeah, of course. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So let's look at the 5 points here for all of you. Make sure you use a ruled paper. If possible, do not write behind the practice page. So if you write on one side, don't use the rear side of the page, just that front page, and go to the next page to do your next day practice, because sometimes some people write with lots of pressure and that kind of spoils the next day practice. So begin here on the top, first point. Second point is go with the flow. If your hand stops, you start all over again. The third point is loops have to be open, no fat potatoes, no couch potatoes. Just make sure they're loops and they're open. It has to end here. The stroke has to end on the line, not in the air. And the last point is make sure that you breathe deeper than your normal breath. The breath will go all over the place. The thoughts will go all over the place. You just have to one of the thoughts you will get is like, oh, pay attention to the practice, and then come back and continue the practice. Initially, it will be difficult. If your hand hurts, if you feel uncomfortable, if your neck hurts, all of these are the signs that your body is resisting the change, but that also means the change is happening. So these are not bad things, these are good things. Most of you might write after many, many years, so that won't be the easiest thing, but stay in the practice, at least do it for 7 days. Most of these pains disappear in 7 days, so stick on.
Wow. See, the solution is very simple. So because it's so simple, please don't ignore it. You don't require complex, your what is it? Your surgeon to cut you open and do some nerve surgery, micro whatever surgery to fix your problems. Is just handwriting. It'll fix it for sure. I have. I mean, honestly, I've done many similar kind of remedies, and it has worked on me. It has worked on my family and my friends. So I can I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to start it tomorrow morning, and also I'm going to somehow convince my son to spend 10 minutes on doing that exercise for sure. So Ranjan Sharma is asking, is there any tips for left-handed people? Is it difficult?
So again, other strokes change for left-handed writers, especially this one remains exactly the way it is. You don't have to worry about it. Make sure that I've seen left-handed people showing high creative potential, like higher. Generally, they're in everything. They're more disorganized than other people. So you may find it difficult to make the stroke steady, but that's okay. Just stick with it. And there is no competition to make the stroke long and fill the entire line with it. You don't require to do that. Make sure that you do it till your breath allows you and your hand does not feel restricted. So all of that is absolutely fine.
It's as simple.
Thank you, Ranjan, for asking.
Thank you. So thank you very much. I think if you decide to stay there, I think we'll continue to get questions. But anyone who wants to know more, please visit Aditi Surana. The link is on your screen, and I will link all her YouTube channels and these in the description, so you can visit. There are lots of resources there. You can watch videos, learn, join her programs. She has lots of programs in which she will kind of help you solve problems on one-on-one basis and in groups and all that. You can join them. So she's a fantastic coach. I mean, you got a taster of what she is quite capable of. And thank you very much. There is Ashik Bilal from Bangladesh. Hope all is well by the grace of God. Yes, it is. Ashik Bhai, it is. I hope the hurricane did not trouble you too much. Well, I am actually away from television and newspaper completely for the last, I didn't want too much. Well, I get some information, but I hope you guys are all safe and away from COVID as well. Before I sign off, I'd like to make I'd like to take you through my website with the permission of Aditi. This is our website. Where we do online photography education, and we also have, besides the YouTube channel, which is now with the help of all you people, we've crossed 725,000 subscribers. Now we have this online photography education platform that we have put together with some of the finest mentors in the country. So these people are capable of teaching you, photography in all possible genre of photography, documentary, studio, landscape, mobile photography, landscape again, wedding, portraiture, everything is available. And we have these classes specially designed for you. So we have lots of free sessions available. We have lots of paid sessions too. So if you like them, just click on that and you are taken to that particular page, and a small fee, and you can watch it for it's for an unlimited period of time. We also have an app called Pixel Viilage on Android. So please download the app, and it had all the content, everything that is available on the website is available here as well. So thank you very much. With that, I thank all participants who stayed for the last 2 hours with us. It is 1 hour 48 minutes now. Stayed with us. And our Gulzar is asking, are these certification courses? Well, we currently offer a digital certificate if you complete it and if you answer a certain quiz. We are working on it. Our website is relatively new, but we are working on a proper certification. We will announce it soon. But currently, at this point, you probably will get a digital certificate, probably. Yeah. Well, that's all currently we are capable of doing. But the content, you must take a look at it. Here, there is a trailer. Watch it. If you like it, you can subscribe. So once again, thank you all for staying with us throughout the session. And thank you, Aditi. And I also would like to thank Rashi for moderating and being there on the chat and, copying the right comments onto the screen. Thank you,
And rather,
Jessica.
more importantly, I want to thank Rashi for connecting both of us. Like without.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Thank you,
so
thank
she
you,
kind of
Rashi.
took the initiative to make sure that two crazy people come together. Thank you so much for that.
I don't think she is any less crazy. She too is. Okay.
So I really want to thank everyone for being a part of this. I feel it's my life's mission to make sure that most people, almost everybody I speak with, really connect with themselves and their potential. And what could be better than speaking with creative people who are already working in that direction? It's an amazing opportunity, and thank you for the platform, Radha. It was wonderful. It was wonderful to see how well received this conversation is. Really,
thank you very much. There is a small, addition that I want to make to it. There is a misconception rather, that photographers are creative. I say almost anyone can be creative. I'll say even a lift operator or a taxi driver can be creative. You expect them to do. Their job is seen as a mundane job, right? Even that can be made, very creative, because I have met people who make you laugh, lift operators and drivers, and the next time
in Mumbai. Yes,
absolutely. So for some reason, I don't mind taking that, that description that he is creative. I'm no more or less creative than, let's say.
But rather, being a professional like photographer and being called a creative person could be just your karma.
Absolutely. So I think that's a very good note to wind up today's session. Thank you very much once again. Remember.
Thank you everyone.
It's kind of catching up with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now.